everyone. I hope you're all doing well in these trying times. We're in Group J of Marketing 460 under Tim Richardson's class, Global Marketing. We are four in the group for Aimee Conley, Jaweria Amir, Matthew Aksu, and myself, Agustin, Jeosef, Reyes. In this video, we'll be discussing the 4 P's of marketing mix in relation to the COVID and the effects of the small businesses, especially to the restaurant business.
So looking at the graph, it is clear that restaurants are really affected during the first wave of COVID-19, where in the first 2 weeks of February, nearly 46% of respondents reported that their store sales were lowered compared to the same period in 2019. With the increase of number of COVID-19 cases in the early March, 78% of food service operators surveyed reported lower same-store sales between March 1, 2020 and March 15, 2020 compared to the same period in 2019. In the final 2 weeks of March, 96% of respondents reported lower same-store sales compared to the same period in 2019. So based on those that provided data, average same-store sales plummeted by 72% compared to the same 2 weeks in March 2019. And at the end of March, lower revenues and social distancing measures imposed by the government resulted in 53% of respondents closing down their entire operation temporarily, while some restaurants remain open for delivery and takeout.
To start off, I will talk through one of the most important marketing mix, which is the place. The place is also important as other marketing mix components because in this, you decide where to go and in which market to enter to gain and attract customers. The place you chose will play a big factor in how customers will access your place of business. For example, if your small business restaurant is located in the mall or that aren't within a walking distance from the communities or by transit, there would be a significant drop in traffic. Walk-in wouldn't be an option, and for those on transit, they would have been avoiding getting on just to the sole purpose of going to one restaurant. In addition, the further they are from the bigger communities, the more expensive fees on the delivery apps will be. Therefore, it incentivizes customers from ordering there. So much more with those small restaurant businesses who are greatly affected and even close their stores because they don't have access to online orders or delivery app compared to those big restaurant chains. The other consideration is the size of the place. Store capacity and social distancing rules in effect will dictate how many customers they accommodate at this time, thus limiting the number and in turn limiting business such as dining in.
Now I'll be going over some of the ways the pandemic has changed promotional efforts in small restaurant businesses. The pandemic has impacted promotional efforts in many businesses of a variety of sizes and capacities. However, small restaurant businesses have been the most notably affected. This table from Statistics Canada shows that most businesses, primarily small businesses, made a majority of their sales online in 2020 compared to 2019. These figures include the transition to delivery services such as Uber or in-house delivery services, a promotional change many restaurant businesses were forced to adopt across the globe. Rick Ockberg, Vice President of the Distillery Restaurants Corporation, shared the experience of his small restaurants among COVID closures, stating that every time the economy was forced to close, his business lost hundreds of dollars in food that would go to waste. When businesses could open, they would order food needed to operate, and sudden closures would cause stock to go to waste. Countries across the globe implemented economic closures due to the pandemic, making this issue a common one among small business owners. As such, Rick and many others were forced to begin sales promotions following closure announcements in order to get rid of stock and make an effort to break even.
COVID-19 has created a lot of pricing challenges for small businesses. This crisis has been creating sudden and unusual pressure. During this, companies are trying to be flexible in both surviving this COVID crisis while protecting their employees at the same time. Ontario was able to provide one-time payments of $10,000 and $20,000 to help small businesses during this crisis. A national study was released that found 69% of small businesses have already experienced a large drop in demand. 60% of businesses have delayed or canceled plans for new investments, loans, and expansions during the pandemic. While companies sadly had to be permanently closed, it is very hard to come back from such a crisis. It seems that governments across the world are trying very hard in trying to support these small businesses.
So a lot happened during the pandemic. Countries went into lockdown repeatedly, got out of it, and are still currently battling the effects it had on the economy. I'll be discussing the effects COVID-19 had on the goods and services of small businesses, specifically the restaurant industry, in regards to the 4 Ps. With the on and off lockdown mess that Canada was put through resulted in many small businesses in the food industry to shut down or go bankrupt. According to Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, President Dan Kelly, the first two shutdowns were devastating, with 1 in 6 businesses considering permanent closure. Due to the pandemic, small businesses in the food industry have had to adjust to the safety measures in place to ensure the safety of their employees and customers by increasing sanitization stations and cleaning areas more frequently. This also meant operating at reduced capacity, shifting to takeout and delivery services. They also started to offer contactless delivery. These are just some of the effects that COVID-19 had on the goods and services of small businesses in the restaurant industry.
Clearly, the pandemic has caused small businesses and the restaurant industry to create and implement sudden contingency plans, making their operations unpredictable. Thank you for listening to our presentation on how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted small restaurant businesses around the world.